G'day guys, just thought I'd show you this video that we took on the weekend. We started right at the very beginning on the Sunday morning. I want you to see here how this is how I approach him. I spend every day with him, just about every day. When we go to see him, he quite often will walk away, or he'll stand himself in a position where he's not facing me, as he is in this one. His head goes up quite high. He's okay if I'm carrying a food bucket, but if I've got the lead rope in my hand, this is the reaction we get. So I spend a bit of time on trying to get his head down before I put the halter on. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Now we're back in the round pen. Just doing a little bit of rope work here. And he seems to be quite good with the rope. He's not really phased about it. I thought we were going to actually ride him today. That was the plan. We haven't been on him since the clinic, and Michelle's come down to take this video, and she was going to give us a hand. We put a saddle on a little bit later, and see how he goes. But I thought before we decide whether to ride him or not, we'd do a little bit more of this, and we'll put the saddle on and see how he goes, and you'll see what his reaction is a little bit later. I seem to spend quite a bit of time trying to get his head down. It doesn't, yeah, I don't really, sometimes I feel like it's working all right, other times I don't know how to make it any clearer to him that's what I'm looking for. As you'll see, that he's quite okay about lowering his head once we start to do stuff, but it never stays down. It always seems to pop back up again as soon as I go off to do something else or change what we're doing. His head pops back up. When he gets a little bit tireder, he tends to hang it down, but yeah, not really his first thought is relaxing his head. So this is a warts and all sort of video. I've only really edited bits and pieces that were sort of irrelevant. My phone went off at one stage, so I had to stop and deal with that. I was actually working that day. I was on call, so I had a couple of interruptions, so I've cut those out. But apart from it, that I haven't cut anything out. So there'll be lots of mistakes you can pick up on Ken or Jane, and any advice is going to help us. There are some particular things I'd like some info on how to address. I find that he's going this direction here, where he's going to my right, is his worst direction. If he's uptight at all, it'll show going this way, whereas he will go to my left calmly often. As soon as you change him to go to my right, he has to go quicker, and I tend to let him go like that until and keep him in that one direction until he shows some sort of sign of relaxing, licking his lips or blowing out, or just slowing down to a walk. And none of these things where I send him around the round pen or on the end of the lead rope do I actually ask him to go anything other than just move away. So he sets his own pace, and I find that if I send him off and he relaxes, then I will change the direction, or we'll stop altogether and go and do something else. So we've just started doing this free reining stuff. I don't know what you actually call it, free lunging, I suppose, in this round pen of sorts. It's only a knock-up pen with some electric tape around the edge, so it doesn't actually, if they were having a real hissy fit, it wouldn't stop them from leaving the pen. However, he doesn't seem to have too much of a problem with that. But as you'll see when we start to send him off, he likes to run around with his head up, and he quite often tips his head to the outside of the circle. Here we go there. There's lots of distractions at this place. There's people trying to load horses and floats just to the side of us, which is out of the camera's view. There's people yakking and carrying on. There's a little farm bike thing goes up past us. Lots and lots of distractions. Here he's sort of, it wasn't too bad there, I suppose, but he starts to tip his head to the outside of the circle often, and I don't know how to get him more curved when he's off the lead like that. Maybe some pointers in that direction might help, or maybe I shouldn't be taking him off the lead yet. Maybe I need to do more stuff on his lead rope to get that curve. But I find that, well, I think anyhow, that when he's on the lead rope, he does give me quite a nice curve. Here he got a bit of a what for, because he turned without me asking him and he poked his bum out at me. So I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but I don't ever want him thinking that sticking his ass in my face is going to be a good thing. So I sent him back in the same direction I'd asked him to go in originally, and then when he settled down to that, we changed his direction again. Here he is poking his head out the side of the arena again, or the round pen I should say. Trying to get him to look at me a little bit more by taking the pressure off him, by stepping away from him. From the day I got him after Michelle's accident, I've used this stick and string as sort of a attaboy sort of thing. So he seems to relax to it. Well, I think he does anyhow. And so I use it quite often in between little exercises just to reassure him that he's done something that I've wanted him to do. If that makes sense. As you can see, he's going around the circle here. He keeps looking at Michelle. He's not really focusing on me. She's operating the camera. He has one ear on me, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's a bit, eh?
Trying to get him to slow down to a walk before we stop. Like I said before, I don't set the pace that he goes at. In these instances, I'm just asking him to move. After each little exercise or every little thing we've done, I usually stand there and look at him until he gives me some sign of acknowledgement, whether he's licking his lips like he is there, before I go up and give him a pat. This with doing his feet, I do this every chance I'm out with him, because he used to try and kick your head in when you went to do his back feet, and he was very uptight about picking his feet up. If you followed him around and tried to get his back feet up, he would lash out. Unfortunately, we didn't get any videos of that, so we worked on this, and now he seems to be quite relaxed, and even picks his back feet up for me now when I approach them, as you'll see here and a little bit later. So I'm pleased with this part of it anyhow. So he's kind of got his head down a little bit there, I guess. I'm not actually looking at him, so I didn't see it, but it doesn't look like it's up as high as it normally is. I like to lift his tail just to check on if it's tense. Right, this is after we saddled him. He stood there and got saddled quite well, and we wouldn't expect anything else. He's been ridden, he's 14 years old. However, as soon as we went to move, and unfortunately we weren't videoing because we weren't expecting a problem, as soon as we went to move, he freaked out. So we started videoing to show his reaction with the saddle on. This is in the morning session still. And it kind of took me by surprise, so I decided there and then it probably wasn't going to be a good idea to be thinking about getting on him just at this stage. As you see here, all I'm doing is checking his girth, and he decides to snort and carry on. This sort of surprised us a little bit.
No, I wouldn't either like that.
Like I said, he hasn't had a saddle on since the clinic that we went to, but I wouldn't have expected this sort of reaction just from having a saddle on. And it's the same saddle he's worn before plenty of times. It fits him really well, so that's not the issue. It seemed to me that he's kind of thinking about having a bit of a bucking out and a bit of a bronc session or whatever, but he tried it a couple of times, but he's still moving forward. I don't know whether that's got something to do with that flank rope you put on him, Kent, and it sank in that bucking is just not good, and we need to move forward instead of doing that. I'm happy to accept that might be the case. So he kind of settles down a little bit. But this is, like I said before, this is his good side. So this is the side that he relaxes quicker on. I'll see, it seems to be more comfortable with me being on his left-hand side. He still kind of had a little go. He's high-stepping and carrying on and snorting and whatnot. But I'm kind of glad he's on a lead rather than underneath me at this stage. I just keep him going until he sort of, well, it appears to me that he's settling into it, and then we change direction and start again. He seems to be relaxing to me a little bit more now. Now we're going to go the other way, and it kind of starts again.
Yeah, you can tell. It definitely wasn't like that the day of the accident, but he definitely wasn't like that reactive the day of the accident, but yeah, he shouldn't be like that. Just he's used to a saddle. Just because he hasn't had one on for a little while, shouldn't react like that, I would think. Yeah, it's dropped his head a bit.
Okay, now we're into the afternoon or the evening session. It was several hours later. So what you saw there, that was the beforehand. That was the end of that session. He just went. We just unsaddled him, and he got fed and got put in the back in the paddock. So now we come to the evening. We decided we'd have another go. So we started off the same way. Once again, trying to get his head down. I've been told that not to get on a horse that won't back with his head down. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's sort of what I'm trying to think about. Is if he'll back calmly with his head down, he can't be too uptight, I'm guessing. So he's a lot calmer this evening, he seems to be. So even going on his worst side, he walked it the whole time instead of getting into a little jog first. So I was very pleased with that. Once again, he's tipping his head to the outside. Like I said, I'm not sure how to correct that. going to get him to stop right there, but when that little cart went past, he decided he was going to pick up pace again. So we let him go, and then he slowed himself down, and so we decided to call it quits there. Except he's not actually stopping as quickly as I'd like. So even after all that in the round pen, he still, when we go to put his halter on here, wants to stick his head up. And I always do it the same way. I flick the rope over his neck and reach around. There he decided he was going to walk backwards, so I thought I'd better follow him. Once the halter's on, you can ask him to lower his head, but it seems to be, until you've actually got it on, he still feels like he can just lift his head up high, make you stretch for it. And I'm a short ass, so I don't want to be stretching. This is just a little bit of goofing around. Rightio, so we got him saddled up for the evening. Now the saddling up was uneventful, so we didn't bother filming that. And he seemed to be considerably happier this evening than he was in the morning session. But not completely. So he's a lot more relaxed in the evening session, and as you can see, there was no bucking or getting up tight. And going on his worst side, as we are now, he took off at a little bit of a jog instead of a walk, but it didn't take too long before he slowed down to a walk. So I was pretty pleased with that too. So a couple more of these sessions, and if he continues like this, I think we will probably just end up getting up on him and just doing a little controlled ride. Because by the time we go to the next clinic in February, which he's just booked into, I certainly want to be doing the riding part. So we're coming to the end of the video now, and yeah, thanks very much for watching it, and any tips, advice, critics, comments would be much appreciated. Cheers, see you in February.